Welcome to HBA Today, a presentation of the Berks County Home Builders Association. As is always the case when we do this with the fine students from the Berks Career and Technical Center here in Berks County, a number of very nice young people. Today, our presentation is very unique because we have representatives of the Pennsylvania Builders Association, which we're really excited to have. So let's get down to introducing our guest and start our discussion. So our first guest is the current president of the Pennsylvania Builders Association, Maria Coots. She works with a company known as the Coots Group. Our second guest is the current vice president of the Pennsylvania Builders Association, John Sekonic. John works with the Sekonic Building Group. Then we have Kurt Sloan. Kurt is a immediate past president of the Pennsylvania Builders Association, a multiple-time president of the Berks County Home Builders Association, and the owner of Aluminum Associates Sloan Corporation, a construction company. And last but not least, the three individuals I just introduced are officers within the Pennsylvania Builders Association, and they set the policy for the association, but somebody has to implement that policy, and that gentleman is Dan Durden. Dan is the Chief Executive Officer of the Pennsylvania Builders Association. So to all of you, thank you. We appreciate you being here. So, Maria, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
All right. Obviously, this is the Builders Association, and building and remodeling and all of those things are impacted by the economy and those types of things. So generally, what's the state of the economy and the state of home building in Pennsylvania and remodeling in Pennsylvania right now?
Right now, home building and remodeling is wonderful in Pennsylvania. Our members are very busy. There are some pockets throughout the state that are still a little slow, but even with the shortage of labor and the rising cost of materials, I'm still seeing a demand for new home construction and remodeling, and I hope to see that in the foreseeable future.
And do you see that seeming to continue into the future?
I see that in the future.
Oh, that's awesome. So, John, how, in your estimation, do building associations such as the Pennsylvania Builders Association, or PBA, how do they help builders and remodelers in what is really an ever-changing marketplace? What's working today might not have worked 2 years ago and might not work 2 years from now.
Well, Pennsylvania Builders Association and other related trade associations do a great job of an advocacy group, and they will work in Harrisburg with legislation. They work on the educational side in providing its members education on whether it's legal matters, whether it's construction techniques, whether it's changes in codes or policies, and it does a great job of giving us the information we need to provide a better product for our consumer.
So I'm going to follow up, and as you all know, you kind of have a little bit of script of what I'm doing today, but it doesn't mean I don't change it, and I'm changing it right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, good. You just brought up something that I think is really interesting about the PBA, and that's the advocacy that goes on with, I think, both the state legislatures and things that the PBA does in the courts for its members. Can you comment on some of those things for us?
Well, on the legislative piece, I actually am the UCC chair, the Uniform Construction Code chair for PBA, and that's part of our Government Affairs division. So as legislation proposals get brought into the House or the Senate, a lot of those end up on my desk to review along with some other people on my committee, and we look at it from the perspective of the home building industry and the actual trades that might be affected by this legislation. Not all the legislation that comes to us is specific to home builders. It could be some of the associated trades. And we review it to find out what our position as a state association should be to make sure that we're protecting the interests of our organization, of our members, and ultimately the customers that we actually build the products for.
Okay. Let's follow up with that with Kurt. Kurt, as I said, an immediate past president. Kurt, sometimes, as I understand it, what may happen is something may happen within in the community. Sometimes there might be a fire or some type of incident, and somebody immediately goes to the legislature and says, hey, we should fix this and change it. But that can have impacts on cost and availability of labor. How do you think, Kurt, the PBA helps with that and in terms of representation of its membership?
Well, we already did that a couple of years ago when we fought against the sprinkler system. We're not against it. We're not against safety. No one is. But the thought of implementing that cost and making it permanent to a new home being built didn't make sense to us. It should be up to the customer if they want that in their home or not. So that was one area which we fought because we thought it was unreasonable for the cost of a home for that to be thrown in there every time a home's being built, and we won that. That's why PBA is up in Harrisburg. We're constantly monitoring what goes on in our state with our state lawmakers so we can stay on top of things, and if an issue like that comes, we can be on top of it and hopefully stop it before it becomes law.
And so everybody that's watching this understands what was going on was the state legislature was attempting to put legislation through that all new home construction would have sprinklers in it. And on the one hand, there's certainly safety issues that make sense with that, but that also increased the cost of new building such that some people who might otherwise be able to buy a new home were not able to. Is that a fair statement, Kurt?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's get back to kind of the original direction that we were going, talking about the PBA, and I'm going to stick with Kurt for a moment. As I understand the way the Builders Association and our local works, if somebody joins our local, they become a member of using Berks County as an example, the Berks County Home Builders Association, the Pennsylvania Builders Association, and ultimately the National Home Builders Association. Kurt, can you comment a little bit on the interrelationship between those three associations?
I'm going to use the analogy of a bed, which sounds weird, but that's what I'm going to use because the local is really the foundation, so we are the sheet. If you're going to be, you also will be a member of PBA, which will be the blanket, and then you will also be a member of NHB, which is our comforter. So each level has a different way of taking care of us. The local, of course, gets us close to our local representatives, knowing who they are, how they think, do they think our way. Being able to network, which we do in all three levels. Some of it, it's all three levels, some of it's particular to the local. Statewide, obviously we're networking again. But we're also getting to know the individuals and the companies and the associate members of our state. So if we have customers, for instance, I have some customers where their family lives in a different part of the state. I know individuals throughout the state I can send them to who I know will do good work. They follow the codes, or they're a good supply house in that area. If I end up going to another area to do a particular job I'm not familiar with, some of the supply houses we deal with and are members of our local association are in those other areas. PBA can stay on top of all of our state officials because we're in Harrisburg. We are constantly over there monitoring what's going on, what the new laws are, fighting the old laws if they don't work for us. But we're staying on top of it, which we cannot do in the local. National will do the same thing. They fight the federal side of it, and they're constantly monitoring that. That's why they're down in Washington. We can't do that as a local. So with all three levels, we have something that's particular to that level. State, again, I'll go back to state. We have statewide insurance programs, which would be a health insurance or a workman's comp. So as a group, our insurance cost us less than we could buy individually if we just had it through our local. National does the same thing. We have uh, GMC, for instance, if you buy a vehicle, you get a rebate on your vehicle. We have it through Chrysler. We have some other companies, Lowe's, for instance, which we cannot do locally, but we can do nationally. So there's some of the things that we have through going through all three tiers that makes it all one.
So, Kurt, I'm going to interrupt you there because if I don't, poor Dan is not going to have anything left to say. So let's turn to Dan. Dan is, like you said, the Chief Executive Officer. Dan, tell me, from your perspective as a staff member, what does the Pennsylvania Builders Association do for its members that they're not getting from the local and they're not getting from the national?
It's an excellent question, Jim, but I want to start from a fundamental premise. I view our role as serving our members who provide one of the three basic physical needs in life: food, shelter, clothing. We're the shelter providers. And so as the staff at the State Association, our goal is to make our builders' work and our builders' businesses as friction-free as possible. And by that, what I mean is our goal is to remove those impediments that prevent them from providing safe, affordable housing to the people of Pennsylvania. Every new regulation that's ill thought out or badly applied, every law that's obsolete and out of date, or that is a one-size-fits-all but doesn't fit our people, we try to combat that, and we try to get ahead of that to ensure that bad laws or bad business trends don't adversely affect our members. Everything that adds costs to our members adds costs to home buyers. And as you pointed out earlier, every dollar that goes into increasing the price of a home prices certain people out of the market. And when I say out of the market, I'm not just talking about home buyers. I'm talking about potential renters as well, because our members build homes and apartments for lease as well. Everybody needs a place to live, and our goal is to ensure that our members can build to the choices of Pennsylvania's consumers.
Okay. So Maria, let's get back to you. I myself am a past president of the Berks County Home Builders Association, and one of the things that I occasionally would run into was somebody saying something to me along the lines of, why should I be a member? They're going to do it for me anyway. Mm-hmm. They're going to be in Harrisburg, and I'm going to get it anyway. Why do you think people should be members?
Well, fortunately, our members understand the importance of advocacy and the burdensome regulations and keeping them carry their weight. I think that it's our job as members to help them understand how important it is for them and for them to give us their support. We can't continue to fight the battles that we fight every day on our own. Someday we're going to lose the battle, and it's going to hurt our livelihood, and it's going to hurt their livelihood also. I think that Theodore Roosevelt said it best when he said that every man owes a part of his time and money to the business or industry into which he's engaged. And I think that those are very important words.
I agree with you. I also think, and I've thought always to myself, that in an organization like this, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. Mm-hmm. And if you put in the time and the effort, you will get something out of it. But I also think it's really, when we're talking about legislation, particularly, it's always, there's a certain amount of strength in numbers. When you're going in to talk to a politician, and the politician is looking at an association that has 100 members, they're going to look at that association differently than one that has 1,000 or 2,000 members. Would you agree with that?
No, that's definitely true. There's definitely strength in numbers, and our politicians know that. When we come to talk to them, they can see how many people that we have in our organization, and we have quite a few members of our organization, but we could always have more, and the more that we have, the more powerful we will be.
So John, we've talked a lot today about particularly the legislative aspect of being a member of the Builders Association. But do you have any thoughts on the business opportunities that being a member presents to the members?
Absolutely. From the networking side and the availability to speak with people in your local, whether it's Berks County or one of the neighboring counties, or attending a statewide function and speaking to fellow members across the state, you're opening yourself up to a great network of being able to find other people that may have the same issues that you're encountering, or finding a new business trend, or finding a new supplier or contractor that you can work with. The opportunities to make those business contacts is a very big part of what PBA is, as well as the locals.
Kurt, I think of the people I know that you've probably expressed this to me better than many others, but being a member of an association like this involves a certain amount of professionalism and integrity that is brought to the job, because ultimately we're serving the community and members of the community. In terms of being involved in the Pennsylvania Builders Association, can you comment upon how that enhances the professionalism and integrity of the profession?
I can, but I won't. Most of our members, a good bit of our members, are 20 to 30 year plus members. That says a lot. Owning a company that long, being involved in an association that long, you're there for a reason. You're there that long for a reason. So I've been here, I've been doing it for 38 years. I've been a member for 38 years. And the reason for that is what John had said. Networking to me is key. Getting to know somebody from all levels of the association, which I am involved with. I have a good friend down in Louisiana that I know going to national meetings. I can call him at any time, and he does me at times to check in and get information on how things. He's a very knowledgeable man. He's been in it longer than I have, so I can pull information from that individual. That's why I belong. The other reason is teamwork. It has to be teamwork for me. You can do this alone. You may be okay at it alone, but you can only get great if you're with a great team and you can build off of other people. And that's why I'm a member.
Jim, can I just piggyback on the one point that Kurt made that I think is critically
Sure.
important? Just joining the association in and of itself is a good indicator that that individual is interested at becoming better at what they do. They want to be more professional. And by joining the association, they have that opportunity to network with other people who have learned, who have been there, who have been tested and suffered some of the same challenges they have, and have come through it. So there's an old biblical proverb about how iron sharpens iron. You come together with the best to become the best. And that opportunity you have, whether it's at the local level, state level, or nationally, you can find those other members, and it's actually an opportunity to look for business opportunities as well, where you can be exposed to things and also have your questions answered by those who've been down that road before and know what they're talking about.
Well, you can get to look at another individual and go, wow, I'd really like to be like that. And I would like my company to be like that. And you're not going to do that on your own. Yeah. You have to do that as a group.
So Dan, I'm going to stick with you. One of the things that I find really unique about the Builders Associations, as opposed to, say, for example, the American Medical Association, which is just doctors,
Right.
and the American Bar Association, which is just lawyers. The Builders Associations are builders, and they're remodelers, but there's a number of other professionals from the various business communities that are members. Can you comment on that a little bit, Dan?
Yeah, Jim, that's an outstanding point. And I come to this speaking as someone who was a longtime member of the ABA. Our organization, from the ground up, that's again the local, the state, the national, is to include a comprehensive set of everyone who's engaged in constructing a home. So that's from the very beginning of site development and planning. So that might be engineers and lawyers, it might be lenders, it's the suppliers of the product, and then it's the individual trades who help assemble that house under the supervision and direction of a qualified professional builder. So we really want to include all aspects to ensure that we have covered the industry soup to nuts. If there's a hole in there, the fear is that We might not be the best association we can be, that we're not serving all aspects of what our consumers and buyers might need. So by bringing each of the disparate elements of the industry together, we think we can make them all stronger.
So Kurt, our past president, has already told us why he is a member of the Builders Association, and we're going to kind of wrap this up on that issue, and I'm going to close out with our current vice president and our current president in that order and ask them, John, why are you a member of the Pennsylvania Builders Association?
There's actually a number of reasons that I am a member. Back when I first became a member, my dad was a builder and a past president of the Philadelphia chapter, and he brought me into a meeting and explained to me the benefit of being part of the organization. And through the interaction as a 24-year-old at the time, I got to meet people that I didn't think I would get to meet. People who were the heads of companies that were very big, national suppliers, as well as a lot of people locally. And it opened up a different world for me of the opportunities to network and gain knowledge outside of just that of my father. As I've gone through and sat on the board of our Bucks-Montgomery County chapter, which is where I build, I sat on that board for 19 years, eventually becoming president, and have moved into the Pennsylvania Builders Association leadership now. And I look at it a little bit different as to the reason I'm a member today. Obviously, I want to see the industry do well, and I'm putting my time and effort back to give back to the industry that has been so good to me. But in today's world, I have 2 of my 3 kids have joined our business, and with the hardships that our business faces from changes in regulatory and legislative functions, codes, et cetera, at state, local, and national levels, I need to make sure that this is available for them, since this is the direction that they've chosen to move forward with their livelihoods. And they are now involved at the local level, and they're involved at the state level, and they're getting involved at the national level for the same purpose. So I look at my membership today as being a reason to make sure that the industry itself continues to be viable with so many hurdles that we have to jump over, and they have a future, as well as any other young up-and-coming professional that wants to be part of our industry.
Maria, why are you a member?
I'm going to have to agree with John. I can sum it up in 2 words, affordable housing. My passion is advocacy, and I would like to fight to keep the regulations and the codes. They're just not just to keep housing safe. They increase the cost of housing. And as Dan said, NHB did the study. It's actually 130,000 households are put out of the housing market every time the price of a house is increased by $1,000. And to me, that's unacceptable. I think it's our fight to keep housing affordable.
Well, thank you. To all of our guests today, thank you so much for being here. This was really great. I think Maria's closing comments were particularly important, that this association's not just a group of people trying to make a lot of money. That is not who they are. And I've been working with these individuals for a number of years now. I can tell you I personally find them to be some of the finest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting with. The fact of the matter is everybody needs some place to live. These fine people are the people that provide those places for us. So for those of you who are watching today, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. And until next time, this is HBA Today.